Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Okay. I call to order the regular meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Clarkdale for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 at 6 PM in the Clark Memorial Clubhouse. Vice Mayor Hunsetter.
Here.
Council Member Babbitt Pierce.
Present.
Council Member O'Neill.
Here.
Council Member Jones.
Present.
And please note that Mayor Prudhomme Bauer is here. We have a quorum. Item 3 on the agenda is public comment. The Town Council invites the public to provide comment at this time. Members of the Town Council may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration or decision at a later date. If you want to make public comment, you can just come up to the podium. I'll recognize you. If anyone wants to speak online, they can just send a note to our town clerk and she will let you in. So is there anybody wishing to make public comment? Okay, I'm seeing nobody coming up, rushing up to the microphone or waving their hand online. So let's go ahead and move on to item 4, which is reports. In our packet that's online are the monthly reports from the mayor, vice mayor, and council members. So take a look at them. It tells you what we've been doing over the last month. Item B is organizational reports. Many of those were also submitted electronically, but we'll go through and get any updates. So the first one being VVTPO.
There was no November meeting. We will meet, I believe, in 2 weeks.
NACOG, Northern Arizona Council of Government.
We had executive committee meeting this morning, and that will be the last meeting for the year. Next regional council meeting will be in January.
Thank you.
Mhm.
NAMWA, Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users.
No meeting?
Okay. TPAC, Transportation Policy Advisory Council.
We had a meeting in November and I was named chair.
Yay.
So my first meeting on Thursday as chair, really just kind of reviewing what happened at the conference in October and gearing up to start legislative sessions. DK was with members of TPAC today in Phoenix with Representative Bliss. Thank you so much to DK for doing that. And we have another meeting with Senator Fincham on Monday. And all of this is to move forward the rural transportation plan. Our TIP project is Luke Lane.
Great. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Town manager, do you have anything to add? Thank you.
Verde Front Leadership Council doesn't meet until next year, so there's no meeting. Sustaining Flows meeting, I'll give a little report on that. They are holding a series of webinars. The first one was that I attended was on adjudication, was update on the water adjudication and what is it, what the special masters are. And it was a really nice overview of that. We do expect to have some rulings in the spring of 2026 on subflow. So that's going to mean there's going to be a whole lot of movement in that area discussion. It's timely that we're going to be having some county water discussions with that. And the other thing that my takeaway from that meeting particularly was making sure that everybody who has private wells, whether you are in subflow or not, need to make sure that they are registered and that you have submitted a statement of claim. And that is because if you don't, and we go into the final stages of adjudication, you're going to be left out of the loop, whether you are in subflow or not. And they were very specific about that. So, like I have a well, I made sure that we have a statement of claim, and you can it's an easy application online with ADWR.
We'll include an article in this week's newsletter with those links.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really, I think my biggest takeaway was people have thought that, well, I have a well, but it's not in subflow. I don't have to do a statement of claim. They were really pushed that very hard, is that even if you are not technically in subflow of the Verde River, that you should still do it, because that subflow definition is yet to be out there. So that was my biggest takeaway. So it was good. It was a nice little webinar to be at. Yavapai Community for Young Children.
Yes, so we had been meeting quarterly, but we are on to a new goal area, which is making sure that everyone under the age of 5 in Yavapai County is enrolled in health insurance. And so right now, what we're doing is figuring out what are all the opportunities that folks are getting enrolled, and especially those under 5, and then figuring out where the gaps are and how we address those gaps. So we will be meeting monthly for the next little bit. We are the steering committee. So in collective impact, you really get the plan together, and then you give that to the working group. So the steering committee is getting the plan together, and then we will hand it over to the working group, hopefully in February.
That's an aggressive undertaking of that group. Absolutely. Wow. But is Vulnerable Road Users doing anything?
Not at the moment. We do not have our next meeting planned, so I'm not sure where we are on that.
NACOG Community Action Board.
There was a meeting in November, but I was unable to attend, so the next meeting will be in February.
Okay. Cottonwood Airport Noise Working Group, sort of.
That conversation continues. I was at the last airport commission meeting, which was last week. And there is a proposal by one of the commissioners to bring the group back. And so they're going to work with the city of Cottonwood to ensure that it is formulated in the correct way. And so hopefully the group can come back and move forward to making recommendations around airport noise.
Great. Thank you. That's all of our organizational reports. Item 5 are reports from the different departments: building permit, grants report, human resources report. That's a new one, isn't it? Thank you so much, Angela. Magistrate Court report, Parks and Recreation report, Police Department, Verde Valley Humane Society Water and Wastewater report, and our infamous, I call it infamous now, finance report that, and it's infamous only that the concern is still there that our sales tax revenue, local sales tax revenue picture is not super bad, but it's not really good either. So, but we look solid. Is there any comments on any of the other reports? Okay. Let's move on to one of my favorite things, which is item 6, which is staff introductions. So we have 2 swearing-ins tonight for police officers. So I would like the first one is the swearing in of Derek Johnston as police sergeant. Please come on up, Derek. And Town Manager Guthrie will perform the swearing in.
I, Derek Johnston,
I, Derek Johnston,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the States of America
to support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the laws of the state of Arizona.
and the laws of the state of Arizona.
I pledge to follow the regulations
I pledge to follow the regulations
and directives
and directives
of the town of Clarkdale
of the town of Clarkdale
and the Clarkdale Police Department.
and the Clarkdale Police Department.
I pledge to support
I pledge to support
and implement the mission of the department
and implement the mission of the department
and act within the values of the department.
and act within the values of the department.
I pledge to faithfully perform
I pledge to faithfully perform
the duties of the office of police sergeant,
the duties of the office of police sergeant.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Yes.
Hey, boss. Fitting, we're fitting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, come on up.
Okay.
And, and I would like, our next one is item B, which is swearing in Lawrence Jackson as lead officer. Come on up, Lawrence.
That's I'm nervous.
You're fine.
I, Lawrence Jackson,
I, Lawrence Jackson,
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution
to support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the laws
and the laws of
of the state of Arizona.
the state of Arizona.
I pledge to follow the regulations
Pledge to follow the regulations
and directives
and directives
of the town of Clarkdale
of the town of Clarkdale.
and the Clarkdale Police Department.
I
I pledge to support
pledge to support
and implement the mission
and implement the mission
of the department
of the department
and act within the values of the department.
and act within the values.
I pledge to faithfully perform
Pledge to faithfully perform
the duties of the office of the police officer.
the duties of the office of the police officer.
So help me God.
So
I think somebody has to come up and pin you too. Woo-hoo. There she is. Woo-hoo. Yay. That's perfect. That's perfect. Congratulations on both of you becoming sergeant and lead officer. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on consent this evening. Approval of minutes from the November 12th special meeting and then both special meetings on November 12th at 5 and 6 p.m. We have a revised human resource policy, clarification and compensation section on demotions, promotions and transfers. Do we need to pull that?
No, ma'am. I just did want to say that we made one word change at the recommendation of a council member, and that new version is on your table, so we do not need to pull it, but that's
Okay.
what you're voting on.
Okay, thank you. And then the third item is donation of land from Selna Mangini Investments to the town of Clarkdale Water Campus. Do any of these items need to be pulled for discussion? No? Seeing no need to do that, I'll take a motion to approve consent.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve consent agenda items A through C.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember O'Neill and seconded by Vice Mayor Hunstetter to approve consent agenda items A through C as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 9, new business. The first item up is the Verde Valley Community Development Organization Program Update. We're getting a presentation from the Executive Director, Mary Shaquin, to the council on this. Marnie, yes.
I did want to make a quick comment, moving back to the consent agenda, and just thank Stella Mangini Investments for continuing to support the town and all of the projects that we're working on.
Yeah, please note that in the minutes, absolutely. Okay, Mary, come on up to the microphone, state your name and your association. Turn the microphone on. There we go. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I am Mary Shaquin. I am the Executive Director of the Verde Valley Community Development Organization, and it is my pleasure tonight to share with you what has been accomplished in about the last 6 to 8 months within our organization. I'm going to go through the different programs that we've done. I think I need to start by saying thank you to you. This process and what we've done would not be possible without the regional commitment. Everyone has been on board to move the regional program for workforce housing forward. The representatives here in Clarkdale are the mayor and the town manager. Ruth Mayday was on the advisory committee, and then Scott Ellis is now on. I think that covers Clarkdale. Could we go to the next slide? Do I have control or do I need you to do? Okay. Okay. Real quickly, I'd like to share the vision and the mission of the VDCDO. We shape resilient communities through regional collaborations and alliances. Our work is done only through collaboration and alliances. I could not, or our board could not do it without the regional assistance that we have. And we identify, facilitate, and implement regional programs and projects that ensure sustainable communities through regional engagement. What you're going to see tonight is that the sustainable communities and regional engagement in the last year or so has clearly focused on housing, because it has been identified across the board as a real need for affordable, attainable workforce, whatever you want to call it, housing. But those individuals that are truthfully in sort of that middle income level now that cannot find a place to live here in the Verde Valley. Next. So some of the successes we're going to be celebrating, and I'm going to share details as we move forward, is the establishment of the Housing Advisory Committee, our regional planning outcomes, the community presence that we now have. We are recognized regionally. Our developable land database, the cost to build a house study, our education and outreach program, the Verde Valley Community Land Trust, which is the most exciting thing that we've done. And then I'm going to review a few next steps and how we see ourselves moving forward. Next. So the first is the Housing Advisory Committee. We've had this going for about 1.5 years now. It is reflective, there are 35 members or so, of the entire region. So every municipality is represented with staff along with elected officials. We have private individuals, we have nonprofits, we have land developers and real estate people, and all of those individuals that can really help us shape the direction as we move forward, and very honestly can help us out, because I am not a land developer. I'll be very honest. I'm pretty good at organization, but this is a whole new thing for me. And as you see up there, Yavapai College is also a partner now in what we're doing. I don't see them being a part of a land trust model, but they are certainly building workforce housing. And I think what's going to see, you'll all see emerging, is the other side of the mountain now is doing a whole lot of work in housing. They just did an Arizona town hall. I thought it was pretty exciting. All of their priorities are exactly what we're doing here. So hopefully we can all come together and move it forward across Yavapai County. The next is the regional planning outcomes. In March, the 35 people on the Housing Advisory Committee got together and did brainstorming. We were led by Martina Kuehl, who I'm sure you all know. She donated her time at the request of the town of Clarkdale to help us facilitate that process. So we met for about 4 hours and really talked about regionally, what are the priorities and what should the VVCDO facilitate over the coming months. Next slide. So we came up with 3 focus areas that were really important to really work within our region and what we could do on a regional level and not interfere with the municipality work, but support it and strengthen it as we move forward. The first focus area was perception, understanding, and education. We need a common brand. And so you're going to see some of that information later, but we need to start talking to people and educating them. There is so much misinformation and disinformation and distrust. And we think on a regional level as a nonprofit, if we are out communicating different things, like you all have heard this, a higher density development uses less water than a single family 1-acre property, but people aren't hearing that. And if we could start just educating about some of those kinds of things, a powerful message that came out of the Sedona City Council, I was there earlier tonight, the number of their first responders that do not live within the city limits. You know, and we talk about education. I'll tell you, some of their retirees really aren't real concerned about supporting the schools. But when they can't get an ambulance or a police officer or an ambulance or whatever to their house, that makes a huge difference and it really impacts their life. So it's using some of those kind of messages to educate the communities. Then the next piece is to work with developers and municipalities to really shape the message as we go before council, in hopes of getting positive responses to developments. So if it's someone like the CDO that's coming and presenting the picture first, it can, in the words of Ruth, take the target off the municipal employees, but maybe we can start to move some of the projects forward in a more positive way if we're collaborating together. Because we all know sometimes developers aren't the best presenters of their projects. So if we can help them articulate the message. The next focus area is municipal practice and implementation. Our community development directors agree that we don't have a really smooth, systematic process in working with our developers, right? And to work with our developers in a way that the developer knows a process going in, with hope that the process doesn't change midstream. Some of the communities are better at it than others, but every time there's a different employee or whatever, all of a sudden the things change. And that makes it very difficult for a developer and it makes them very frustrated. So that's one of the identified priorities. And then to look at what are some of the best regional practices. You know, the Verde Valley is a small area. Are there practices that can be talked about within the municipal process, if you will, that are similar? And so that they're not all different and a developer doesn't have to learn an entire new strategy every time they come into a community. So those are just conversations that, you know, we've talked about having them for years. When I was a part of VV Rio, could we talk about some things that were regional? And then the final focus area was working with developers to bring them here, to educate them about our needs and, you know, what we want to accomplish and projects. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Next slide, please. So the next is community presence. I've been to God knows how many council meetings in the last year, but every time there's a housing project before council, I show up. We send letters of support that are approved by our board of directors, again, supporting workforce housing across the region. I would say I spend most of my time in Sedona because it is the most challenging in working to try and move the process forward there. I've presented at commissions. I'll be doing more planning and zoning meetings and councils in the next few months. We do lots of letters of support that go to the different councils around specific projects. Zoning changes are the biggest challenge, so we do a lot around that. We mobilize the community when we can. There's a project that's going before Sedona City Council tonight for a zone change. The Sedona Housing Committee and us and many others put together a whole cadre of individuals that support the project. Because as you know, our challenge, the NIMBYs are mobilized and they come out and the rest of the people stay home. And so we need to mobilize that. Again, I mentioned the documenting misinformation. There's so much of it out there. It's just lack of understanding and people don't hear. And then we're doing constituent meetings to address the issues. That will continue to grow. We just try to respond whenever we can or whenever we hear that there's a need. Next. So one of the first major projects that we worked on is called the Developable Land Database. This came out of one of the first advisory committee meetings we had maybe a year and a half ago, and it came from the community development directors. Yavapai County has an amazing GIS database, and it's by layers. If you haven't looked at it, it's really pretty cool. But their layer is vacant land, and it's taken from the tax rolls, right? There's a whole lot of vacant land in the Verde Valley that is not developable, will never be developed, and will never be sold for development. So I worked with the community development departments in each of the municipalities. We got maps and what's called shape files. And then we worked with the county, and the county built an entire layer in their database under the vacant layer. The county is now moving to do that across the county. And the beauty of it is not only do we have the layer available, they will reach out to each municipality every June to update it. And it links directly to our website. And on each piece of property, it pops up the leadership in the municipality that developer should be talking to regarding different properties. So we think that is really exciting. And to give an example of probably not as much in Clarkdale, though Clarkdale's got a lot of vacant land, but yours is to be built on and could be for sale. Camp Verde, for example, SRP owns, I believe, 150 acres of land. They bought it for the water rights. At some point, they'll do something for it, but the town gets calls all the time about the property. It is not for sale. It will never be for sale. And so why direct developers to something like that when it's not available? Next, please. The education outreach program was really exciting. In July, the marketing experts from around the region came together because it was pointed out in the strategic planning that we needed to have some regional messages that were applicable across the region. And so an entire marketing plan was created through a strategic planning process. We then, back up. You've jumped way ahead. Well, maybe I messed up. Sorry. Go ahead. Let me wind back and talk about the cost to build a house first. One of the things that Luke Sefton, who's on our board, and we share an office, he and I have been talking for years about doing some kind of study that talks about the cost to build a house. It is written nowhere. No one has a clue. And, you know, and our feeling is that people have no perception of the impact of putting a metal steel door, which Sedona did, in some of their buildings, right? And what it does to the cost of a house. We're trying to get our workforce into housing. Those steel doors were $10,000 a door. They have since changed their mind on that. But our goal with this is to say, okay, very honestly, every time we add, we add even a water sprinkler or whatever, every regulation we add to a house can have a monumental impact on the cost. So when we did the study, we actually had done it at 2,000 square foot. Well, a few months ago, you are all aware that our legislature, in its wisdom, said every municipality has to have templates for housing at 800, 12 to 1500, and 2000. So we're going back to the drawing board, and we are putting in the cost to build a house that's 800 square feet, around the 1400 square feet and the 2000 square feet. We had scheduled to meet with all the development or the community development directors to update it, but we're going to redo the study before we bring everybody back together again. Okay, so now we can go on to the education and outreach. So as I said, we came together and identified messages and images and how we wanted to present ourselves as we looked at marketing housing and providing a consistent message across the region. The outcome of that, Charity, if you want to hit the next one, is that the VVCDO, with the help of Nick of Time Productions, they do all of my work for me. They're amazing. Thank you, Deb. We have a media asset page on our website now. And under that page, there are images for every municipality and major nonprofit within the Verde Valley that we have 6 images we've identified and 3 logos. And so that makes 18 images per community. So every community has their logo on those images and access to all of them, along with all of the marketing messaging that we're creating. So if any community wants to use it, and the communities promised they would when we did all the work, and this just became live about a month ago, I want to say. So those are the 6 images that were generic that were chosen by our team. The next one, Charity. And those are the 3 taglines: a home for every stage of life, the community we want, and your new home awaits. So we're using those taglines and those images as we talk about different housing issues. One of them or 2 of them have the Verde River in them. So when we talk about water, those are certainly the images that we'll pull as we're doing some of our imaging. Next. One of the really exciting things that is just now taking off is the Verde Valley Community Land Trust. And is everyone here familiar with the land trust and how it works? Anybody know? Okay, so let me give you then, if you're okay, if I take the time to do that, a brief overview of what it is. A community land trust is always run by a nonprofit. And what the nonprofit does is they get land and a house. It can be donated, it can be purchased, whatever. And what happens then is the nonprofit guarantees that the land will never be sold. So what we have is land in perpetuity. So for example, let's say we have a house that's valued at $300,000. The property is valued at $110,000, all right? So what we do is we sell the house, only the vertical structure, to the member of the workforce who has to qualify for it. And they get what's called a ground lease on the property. They get to use it. They have a 99-year lease. It never goes away. For the CDO, our lease payments are 1% of the value of the land a year. So on $100,000, that's $1,000 a year is all they pay. And it never, well, I shouldn't say, it could go up. Our ground lease allows us to review it every 5 years, but basically the ground lease is $100 a month. It just helps us pay our expenses. The other component of a community land trust is that the homeowner who has the house, 2 things. They can only sell it to someone that's in the workforce parameters, the affordable parameters. And how we make that work is, let's say they bought the house at $200,000. That's the cash they paid. And it gets reappraised when they want to sell it at $220,000. They only get $5,000 of the equity. The reason being that other $15,000 in a way sort of goes away because the nonprofit keeps that. And so we can again sell the house at an affordable rate. So those are bottom line, the fundamentals of how that works. The beauty of those kind of housing is there's also restrictions on it. Our board has decided that we will only sell to individuals who are making 150% or less of the Yavapai County AMI. Again, I will say our board's commitment is not to low income, but to the middle income that can't buy a house here either. So we have personally made that choice. Any questions on that? Is that sort of give you an idea, Lisa? Okay. You're welcome. Next slide. So the first project that we hope to have in the Community Land Trust, we've been working on this for months, is the town of Jerome put out an RFP, and they had it directed that the responder needed to be from a community land trust. And we were the only one that bid on it. It went to council in November, and then it didn't go through. And then there was a work session in later November. And it's on council again tonight at 7:00 to vote on it again. I've heard a couple of different things of whether they will approve it or not, but it's going to function the same way. Now, the difference on this is the CDO has made a commitment to buy the property from Jerome. It's been appraised at $300,000. We are also going to do upgrades to it because it really needs it. Now, if Jerome itself were selling the property, they would sell as is. In a land trust, we don't sell as is because the reality is the house probably is coming back to us. We are selling the property to people who don't have huge amounts of money. They don't have the money to repair things, and so they just get worse. So we want to maintain the structure and again, keep the house in perpetuity so that we can share it, again, within the workforce. The other thing that can happen if you have a municipality, for example, they can put some restrictions on, I'm going to call it a donation, but on the project. So the town of Jerome is actually getting from us about 50% of the value of the house. They have to make that kind of commitment because we're not selling it at $300,000. And so sort of the right of purchasing the house goes first to Jerome town employees, then to the Jerome town workforce, and finally it gets open to the Verde Valley if there's no one in Jerome that qualifies to purchase the house. The exciting thing is they've already identified 3 individuals that are interested in purchasing the house, which is really exciting. And so I'll know at like 7:15 tonight whether the bid has been accepted or not. Then negotiations start. The next project is really exciting. Back in August at the Arizona Department of Housing Conference, I met a gentleman and his wife by the name of Kelly and Mona Sands. They own property here in the Verde Valley. And I told them about the work that we're doing, and he offered to donate 14 acres of land on Highway 260. 2 days before Thanksgiving, we closed the $550,000 gift, and we now own those 14 acres of land. It's great land. It's got infrastructure all coming to it. And our goal, sort of sloppily put up there, but we're hoping to build 45 single-family homes as a part of the land trust model so that we can actually start to change the curve and get families and younger individuals into these homes and hopefully turn around this aging population. I mean, people hate it when I say it, but we are in a dying community right now. We need to turn that around because families can't afford to stay. They've left, which is really sad. So to me, this is really exciting. We will obviously be working with the town of Camp Verde because it's going to retire zoning changes and all those kind of fun things. But hopefully as a part of a nonprofit process, that won't be nearly as difficult as sometimes zoning changes are. Next. So I presented all of this to our Housing Advisory Committee a couple of weeks ago, probably beginning of November. And so we came up with a whole, list of sort of the next steps and engagement. making council presentations and planning and zoning presentations and community presentations is really key and important. So you're my first, so thank you. Just to educate about the work we're doing, because we're going to need help. We just can't do it alone. And we need, you know, go to the next slide. I mean, we need things like financial support, you know, identifying other properties, not just municipalities, but single donors, older people that may want their land and their property. And there is a tax benefit. There's a process you have to go through, Kelly, you know, to go through all of it to make it happen, because the IRS really has a whole lot of definitions on that. But the entire thing is tax deductible to the donor. We need people being vocal advocates for affordable housing. Please, if you're not following us on Facebook, if you have, I was gonna say newsletters, I signed you all up since you're public officials. You all get the newsletter, like it or not. And share our education outreach materials as they come out. Like I said, the more we can educate our constituents, and truthfully, the more we can grow the support of workforce housing and the understanding, the better things will be. And like I said, the first up there is providing financial support. I hope the town of Clarkdale will provide some support to the work that we're doing. We are currently funded by private donors in what we've been able to accomplish. So thank you. Are there any questions?
Go ahead, Marnie.
Thank you for that presentation, Mary. It seems like your focus is entirely on single family homes. Is that true?
At the moment, yes, and let me tell you why. Higher density, and we're talking apartment buildings and things like that, are often done as a part of LIHTC or low income processes, right? And so we've decided not to go into that realm. One thing that people talk about a lot is the duplex and triplex and quadruplex. We would love to do that, but there are some major problems with the insurance industry right now. If we start doing that, and I'm not saying we won't, the CDO would actually have to get the insurance for every one of those units and then write into our agreements an expectation, because insurance companies are refusing to insure, you know, duplex, triplex, and quadruplexes right now, because if there are 4 insurance companies, they fight with each other. So they're requiring that the same insurance company have them. Now, to me, that's an advantage to our land trust, because we could control something like that. But real honestly, we don't want to be the first one out, out doing something like that. And as we looked at, for example, the Kelly project, we just think there's a terrible need for single family homes. We did incorporate the research that Clarkdale's done. You know, I went back to the board and said, they've done the research. People are saying we want single family home with a garage and a backyard. All of our homes will have a garage and a backyard. Fenced backyard, I need to add, because that's what the desire is. So if we can just meet the needs of 45, like I said, hopefully families or younger people that want to grow families and, you know, and thrive and build equity and stay, I think that's to our advantage. I will say we are also looking at 2 other major properties that donors have come up to us and talked to us about. So who knows where this will take off. This is just the first.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Lisa. I have a couple of little questions. What happens to the properties if your organization folds?
According to our bylaws, which is required in every nonprofit bylaws, the assets of a nonprofit have to transfer to another like organization. There are currently 2, there are more than 2, but there are 3 key land trusts in the state of Arizona. There's one down in Yuma, Newtown, which is a part of Tucson and Avondale, and then Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona is moving into a land trust. So it wouldn't be the city of Flagstaff, which also has one. So there are 3 land trusts that currently exist. So it would be, the properties would be transferred into one of those land trusts, but by bylaws of any nonprofit, and I've checked my bylaws today to make sure we were all good with our attorney on it. it is articulated there. And again, our bylaws are unique in that we can break up the assets of our nonprofit. So depending upon what we had or what we were doing, the land trust houses would go to a land trust, but some of our other assets could go to another like housing, type of nonprofit.
Okay, is there, you said that you use the example of the house in Jerome.
Uh-huh.
So if a house in Clarkdale
Yes.
becomes part of the land trust, does that mean that employees of Clarkdale would get the first shot at it?
If that was Clarkdale's request,
So Clarkdale would have to request.
yes.
Right.
Whoever makes the donation.
Part of the
Okay,
donation.
okay. If the town of Clarkdale owns the house, the town of Clarkdale, would work with us just like the town of Jerome did and said, it's a town house, right? We'd like one of our employees. We want our employees to stay. If it's a donor in the town of Clarkdale, they would have the same options. You don't necessarily see that happening with private donors on some of those kind of restrictions, like you would with a town-owned or city-owned.
But
property.
it could.
Oh,
It
yeah,
could.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It certainly
Yeah.
could.
Yeah. The owner of
And I
the
can see
property.
Susan now twisting their arms, so it's okay.
And the final one, is it always going to be for sale or would some homes be for rent?
All for sale.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I think the goal is to build equity,
It is,
generational wealth.
and in the land trust model, and there are so many sort of different processes with it. But what tends to happen in the land trust is that the apartment buildings are for rent, right? And you try to get the lower income. Sycamore Vista is a perfect example. Those are all light tuck. They are all for rent. When you get the homes, the idea is to really sell the houses and not rent them. It becomes a whole lot more work. We don't want to be property managers, if you will. We do provide assistance. I mean, if we sell the house, we have a home buyer that wants to buy the house, they have to go through an entire HUD education process and counseling and coaching and all of that. But again, we don't want to spend all of our time collecting rent and doing all those kinds of things. Our real goal is to build the equity. And as you all know, if you
Right.
own a home, you stay longer, you're more stable, your education is higher, your children are more successful. I mean, there's research that shows that.
Any other questions for Mary?
I don't know if I have a question. I have some thoughts. I love this model and I love the idea of how to bring affordable housing into the valley. I am curious about sort of the equity issue if somebody sells the home. Is it predetermined that the homeowner gets X percentage of the equity and so the land trust, so people will know that?
Yes.
And it's in the legal document they sign when they get the house.
Okay. Because on some level, this is obviously a way for people to get in house. I don't think it necessarily builds the same generational wealth if the buyer doesn't actually get all of the equity. So there's not
That is true, but they also
But it-
aren't paying for the land. So
Yeah.
what we've done is
No,
allowed
no.
someone who could never afford a $300,000 home to actually buy a house and never have to deal with the land issue like a lot of our rental places have here where it's $1,400 a month or whatever.
Yeah, it just goes
It-
up and up and up.
yeah,
No, no,
Laura,
I
you-
don't, that's not a favorable one. No, I just want to say that because
Yeah.
it certainly, it allows for one thing, it doesn't necessarily produce the same return, but there is an advantage to that. I'm just saying, I just want to.
And
Oh, sure. I think there's, the discussion of a land trust is really important for us to understand it. But I like the fact that you're asking those questions
Yeah,
because it's the messaging, what it's about, and what is the benefit of it to us, to a person. Go ahead, Laura.
yeah, yeah, I'll be interested to see how it goes. Yeah. And I had the same question about single family homes. Because I do think, as you, I think, stated at the beginning, the more concentrated the homes, the more affordable they are to build. So,
Right.
so,
So we're looking,
but we're happy to let you use Clarkdale, the historic district of Clarkdale as a model to build a new community of 45
we
homes.
take the research that's available to us. And part of it, you know, on the houses, to sort of speak to what you're saying, you know, we've already started talking sort of with Camp Verde, but I wasn't going to put anything in writing until we had the gift, right? It, you know, it jinxes it if you don't do that. We're currently talking about maybe 5 houses on an acre. But that's in negotiation with the town, right? If we could put 8 or 10, that would be really nice. I don't think we could have the capacity to do that. But like I said, we have not had any discussions with the town yet on how many houses that we can do.
And this is a shameless plug for the historic district of Clarkdale, but my house is on 0.11 acres. And
Right.
it's 1,400 square feet. It has essentially 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It has a 1-car garage. It has a front yard, a backyard, and a front and back porch. So you can actually, and it has we have alleys, which make it a different kind of neighborhood as well. And so I think if you're trying to be creative and see what you can really do, that is,
Yeah, and- And in the
So-
picture that we had up there, I don't know if you can pull it back up, Charity. We have some issues with the arroyos and things like that,
yeah,
and
you're gonna
roads
have
going
thing, of
through.
course, yeah.
But that's kind of what we did. Those are the kind of houses we're looking at.
Yeah.
You know, sort of the 2-3 bedroom at about 1,400 square feet. It's not going to be huge, but you know, they're going to be close together, right? There's not going to be a lot of property in between the houses. But you know, the more property we put, the more the houses are. We want to get people in the property. And what tends to happen is that once a property owner has become successful, they can sell that house and buy something else. I mean, that is often the case. And I will say the other thing that we have here is a challenge in the Verde Valley. It may honestly not be all workforce. It could be senior citizens that are looking to downsize. And the beauty of them downsizing and moving into one of our homes is their home they currently have also becomes available for sale. And we have a land trust discussion with all of them as well. I like to talk about donations with people.
Will there be first-time home buyer assistance, things like that, programs built
Well,
into
we
it?
will do the coaching on it. I
Uh-huh.
mean, if they're eligible, I mean, we will work with the federal bank. Ours is out of San Francisco. But I mean, if they're home buyers and working in Sedona or Cottonwood, we certainly have those down payment assistance programs. So we will take advantage of everything that we can in working with our home buyers.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm tailing on to your question about the split of equity. And in my mind, I'm thinking if they know that they're going to have to split the equity once they want to go to sell, that's going to inspire them to do right by their house so that they get the biggest price, which means their split's going to be
Higher.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah. And then the size of the house, I know that in Del Webb, the Breckenridge model, which is 2 bedrooms and a common area of your kitchen dining room, is one of the most popular models in all of that whole development, just because the separation, but the size is good for citizens of this area. So, or people that are looking that come to this area, because it is just a great model. And it's not extremely large, but it does have the garage in the backyard. And
Well, it doesn't have huge master bathrooms and some of
Yeah.
those, it doesn't have a lot of the unnecessary space. But some of the models we're following, I'm sure you've toured the projects that are going over on the Abercrombie Nation. Sherry Benson, before she left, gave me a whole download of everything that she's done and that she's doing. Through Robin and Susan, we've met with Frame Tech, so we're talking with them. This is my first development project, so I'm relying on lots of support from my colleagues. And And like I said, just moving forward on the project.
And we have in Clarkdale, you know, part of the Crossroads project, which was the patio homes, sold very fast, and they are in the range of around 1,400 square feet on smaller lots. So it is a popular model.
And that's the terminology I've been using as I talk about the houses. The patio home, most people understand what it means. It's a definition that they have now and understand.
Right. Any other questions for Mary?
Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting.
It is exciting. Thank you very much for allowing me the time.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming here tonight, and good luck in Jerome.
Thanks.
Yeah, show. Tell Brett, yeah, he's on his way. So let's move on to, before we go to the next item, I forgot to mention on the agenda, item 7, let's go back to that real quick. Just a note that it's was a memorandum to council on a liquor license recommendation for extension of premises for 10/12. So I just need to note that in our minutes for the meeting. So it was on the agenda. So let's move on to item 9B, which is ordinance 446, making amendments to Town Code Chapter 19, Section 7-2, Water Utility Customers' Responsibilities. And I believe we have, oh, it looks like we get Josh and Lou tonight to talk about this topic. So welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Adoption of amendments to the Town Code Section 19.7.2 Water Utility. Yes, as you know, we have the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency lead and copper rule, and the requires a complete inventory of our water lines. So the deadline for that lead water line inventory and replacement plan is November 2027. Excuse me. It's contagious, Mayor. To
sorry.
complete the inventory and any potential lead water line replacement, staff will need access to the customer's properties. Additionally, there are some properties where water service connections are behind customer property lines, fences, and town staff is frequently asked to do a preliminary investigation when a potential property side leak is detected. Thank you. These code updates will allow staff to better assist customers and complete the required work. So, as you know, we have identified 867 homes in our inventory that are unidentified, whether they have lead lines or not. And a couple of months ago, you guys also, council, awarded a machine that we're going to use for potholing. That hasn't came in yet, but what we want to do, and Josh's team will do the work, is when we're replacing water meters at these 867, we need to pothole and identify the type of material 18 inches from the water meter box on both sides of the meter, but they also require 18 inches.
It's that microphone. It's
Is
been
it?
acting up.
I can use it without it.
So just, I apologize for the problem. We have been in consultation with Peter. He has not able to identify the issue, so we're going to have Toby come in tomorrow and take a look. So we apologize. Bear with us.
That's fine. I think it's been acting up for a couple other meetings. So, yeah.
You still hear me okay?
Yes.
So the 18 inches before the meter and then 18 inches after the meter were possible and identified water line. Also, a requirement was that 18 inches from the residence needs to be identified. So you know the type of line that's going into the residence. And that's the requested change that we're asking. So Josh's staff would not have to get temporary construction easements from 867 residents. We actually plagiarized this with Scottsdale on the adjustments to the change. So with that, staff recommends council approve adoption of ordinance 046, amending town code 119 section 7. Area 4 plan for maintenance and growth of quality
great. Okay, this is the ghost is playing with our system, so. With that, is there any questions for Lou on this? At all? I think it's great. Using the models from what you got from Scottsdale's and stuff, Scottsdale and Winslow and around. And when you go in to replace the water meter is your opportunity to take a look at all of that. That is great. So really good work on identifying a really effective way of seeing what's going in and out of those houses. Yeah, I like that a lot. So if there's no other questions to Lou or to Josh on this? Yes.
I don't have a question or comment. Neighbors have asked me, I got this letter from the town, what's it mean? So I don't know how to alleviate that issue. I don't know if they're not reading the letter, but
And we get some to come into the office and ask the same question. It's a requirement for the board that we have to send notifications to those. And we had to do it again. We set it up 14 months ago, and then we had to do that again. So we were hoping that it was less people coming to the office asking the question, but we're just saying, we don't know. And that's the information. I don't know how else to. We were very concerned. We did change, town manager and I and staff, we did change some of the verbiage, but some of it's required by the.
right.
Right.
Thanks.
So the EPA had like a standard letter form that they want that gets sent out, has to have this key information on it. An unknown really just means that we don't know what service has. It's really, we know pretty much what's on our side, but we have none on the service side that's on. So this provided us the ability to do that investigation that required. EPA and ADQ have basically come together and said, these are the ways that you shall do your investigation. And a lot of that has to do with us uncovering it. We have to scratch the pipe, see if it's magnetic or not. If we know that it's plastic, and you can see that, that'll go into a database, we'll take pictures, and that'll get uploaded into what's called 120 Waterworks, the database for the lead copper rule nation. So the United States, every municipality is doing that. I think in Arizona right now, I think they have 90% of the communities have been able to submit their initial investigation. And now we have until November of 2027 to get the unknowns known and then to clear all that up. So, and then from there, we also have to come up with a plan of those homes that have lead service line. If we find those, we have to come up with a replacement plan. How that's going to come about, we don't really know yet. The EPA nor ADQ really have given clear direction on who's financially responsible for that and how that's.
Right.
When I replaced my line, I didn't know I needed a permit, just so you know.
Mine got replaced during an ice storm. No permit.
Okay, any other questions for Josh or Lou? If not, I will thank you both very much. Getting this work done is important, and I like the process. And this is just a little bit to help us move it along, so. And I know everybody wants to know what's underneath there, coming out of their houses. We'll find out the best that we can. And the costs, that's somebody else's issue, is got to tell us who's going to pay for all of this. That's a number of years down the line. I'm not sure any of us are going to be on this council when that gets determined. So anyhow.
It's going to take.
Huh?
How long do you think it's going to take?
10 years.
Test, test, test.
I told you it's the ghost. If not, I'll go ahead and take a motion on this item.
Madam Mayor, I move that the council approve ordinance number 446, making amendments to the town code chapter 19, section 7-2, water utility customers' responsibilities, and authorize the town attorney, mayor, and town clerk to execute all documents.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Jones and second by Councilmember O'Neill to approve ordinance 446, making amendments to the Town Code Chapter 19, Section 7-2, Water Utility Customer Responsibilities as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Item 10 is future agenda items. This is our last meeting of this year. And are there any items you want to add to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Or second.
Second.
Been moved by Vice Mayor Hunstetter, second by Councilmember Bev Pierce to adjourn the meeting at 7:06 PM. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, and thank you for bearing with my coughing tonight.
Ending your music.